Honors Geometry, Lesson 1-1, a game in some geometry. So we're going to start getting our feet wet with some geometry here. It is too early to make real problems, so let's just give you a hypothetical. You're invited to a summer party, host has a game to play, and in this game he gives you clues, you find your way to a prize, no problems. Well, here's the clues. You're in a field. It's a tetherball pole, a fountain, and a tree. And your current clue says that the prize, the next clue, whatever you're looking for, is as far from the fountain as the tree and 10 meters away from the pole. So you look at the situation, you say, well, let me go roughly 10 meters from the pole. And you look right and left at the tree and the fountain. And you say, yeah, that's about the same distance as each one. You scratch around on the ground in this whole area. You're in some thick grass and no clue. It's not there. So you go back and you complain to the guest and to the host of the party, and he says, try again. Where's the clue? I'll let you puzzle this one out for yourself. You can pause the video if you want and think about it. I'm not giving the answer here. This leads us quite quickly to a discussion of 1-2, points, lines, and planes. One of the things that people struggle with in geometry is that it's like studying to be a lawyer. You have to be very precise. And they're used to just slapping things together and getting close enough. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not. Regardless, in geometry, we have to be very precise. We notate things, that is, we notate what a line is, we describe it and write it in a very certain set way. Before we get that far, we have a bit of a problem. And the best way to see this problem is to go look up a word. So, you're new to the English language and you like to sing, and you go to a singing class, and the guy says, well, you need to be more melodious. So you look it up, and it says tuneful. And you can't read the rest of this because you're new to English, and you say tuneful. Oh, let me look up tuneful, see if that helps me out. And you hit tuneful, and it says melodious. And you're saying, that really doesn't help me out. Let me go back and try tuneful. And round we go. So this is the fundamental problem in geometry. We have to define things. But all definitions use words that are already previously defined. So how do we do that? Well, fortunately for the purposes of this class, it's not that big a deal. You guys know a lot of stuff, but just be aware that the original construct of geometry was done by someone named Euclid. And his brilliance was not just doing some math, was that he had an entire system carefully constructed, proven, with minimal assumptions and definitions, something we'll call postulates. So let's start with a point. How do we define a point? You can think about it for a second if you want to pause it. There's no really good way to do it, so I write a dot in space that has no size. How do we notate it? We just use a capital letter. How do we define a line? Again, I used dot before. I'm going to take it one step further in my obscurity. a thing that connects at least 2 points. It has no width. And it never ends. How do we notate a line? Well, we're going to have a diagram of a line. It'll look like this. Could just be like that with a script L. But since it has to have at least 2 points, we'll give it a couple points with capital letters. We could call the line L. We could call the line AB with a couple arrowheads above it, or BA. Neither one is just fine. How do we define a plane? And by the way, notice that the definition of a line uses the concept of points. Again, Euclid was brilliant. He built a whole system from the ground up, started with points, then he kept building. And Euclidean geometry is what we call planar geometry. It's an assumption that for the purposes of what we're doing, everything is flat. Now, the Earth is not flat, so Euclidean geometry does not work if you are, say, a airline pilot and you have to fly around the world, or a ship captain and you sail around the world. But it works for everybody else who just does things within a couple miles of their house without going big distances, just moving back and forth over short intervals. So define a plane. It's a flat space, which is a horrible definition. With at least 3 points. And how do we notate it? Well, we make this big flat looking plane and put a letter in the corner with no point nearby it. Either one of these work. Usually put it in the upper corner. I went too fast. That's what the rewind button is for those who are learning how to use the new system. So these are intuitive ideas. They're technically undefined, but they're used to build the whole of geometry. So when I say what is space, when we say that's the set of all points. Then we say what are collinear points? They are points in the same line. And of course, coplanar points, you can probably guess. Points in the same plane. The intersection of two figures, we say, is the set of points in both figures. And we will do a lot more on that. So this is what I call geospeak, and doesn't take long to get used to it. You'll see a lot of it. One last little thing about geometry. These are dotted lines. What do they indicate? Well, these are lines that are behind, so you can't actually see them. We dot them in so you get a sense of depth perception. So that's like a box, and those lines are the back vertical, horizontal lines of the box. That's it for now. Go do some problems, see if you can make sense of some of this. Good luck.